Do you ever struggle with a good takeaway? I mean, we all know that a good takeaway is so key to a great golf swing, right? Well, today we're going to help you understand what you need to do in your rotation mechanics to make sure that your takeaway puts you on a path for great ball striking. All the time when we give lessons, we see a very common flaw. Okay, maybe something you've seen in your swing like this, right? So you come to this point and the club is really flat and the club head is way inside the hands at this point. And that leads to a big over the top move, okay? So if I know that's bad, all right, then maybe another thing I might try to do to compensate for that is just throw my arms out here. But you'll notice my hand, there's like no hand depth as I come around, right? I'm really not turning, I'm just kind of like looping my arms out here. And again, as I turn my body, look how this club is like way outside, and I'm just gonna have to stand up and flip, right, to pull it in, right? So in both of those, Nate, when I have this posture like this, what am I doing wrong when I do this or when I do this, right? What am I doing wrong?
Okay, so basically your body, your shoulders, as you watch yourself turn back in the backswing, they're too level. Basically, we've created a turn, but that hasn't allowed us to get the right depth properly in the takeaway, getting it up to that position smoother. If we just turn too much like this and my shoulders stay level, now we're succumbing to inside, where we're now having to try to manipulate the arms a little bit too much. But by just getting the shoulders steeper here, we're going to start to hit the positions we need to hit a lot easier.
All right, so Nate, let's have you take the position here. So now at address, there's a tilt of the trunk, right? And so what Nate is saying is if we draw a line, you know, if you just visualize from the hip through the top of the head here, if your shoulder comes like really level, like you haven't turned, you're actually, you know, going like this, right? You're not staying in posture, all right? So do a motion where you're actually staying in posture. All right, so what you see now from the down the line perspective, you can look at this left shoulder. It goes much more down as opposed to around. So if you have a visual that I need to get the club behind me and I need to turn the shoulder around, okay, do that again, Nate, and just show what that does to the shaft. That's a good one. And now let's do this really flat, turning around. It just takes the shaft way too flat, way too early, and inevitably you're going to have an over-the-top move, which leads to the standing up, losing posture, cupping the wrist, etc. Okay, so the key is this shoulder for many of you is going to feel much more down, but the reality is you're just turning on the posture that you've set at setup. We're not like if you are straight up, we're just turning, right? But I've got this tilt, so once I've tilted, this needs to be going down, not just around, and that's the sensation. Okay. Now, as you talk to some of your students, there's a feeling in the left hand I've heard you describe. So, kind of like, what do you feel in the left hand as you get this lead shoulder that goes more down?
So basically, with the shoulder and my hand, I'm trying to stay, I guess, extended. I'm going to be pushing continuously at the same time. So I'm driving the takeaway all with my shoulder there, pushing my hand away from me, all the way back to the top, getting that full turn.
So is there a feeling of this hand going down then or pushing this palm like going down?
Yep, pushing down for sure. It feels like I am pushing away and down as I drive that shoulder deep.
So if you think about it, if we're just simply turning, you know, square to the posture, right? And we're already tilted, and then this is going to have a down component, and that hand goes right there. All right. So let's look again from the down the line. Do this kind of slow, and let's look kind of where that hand is as it gets to about lead arm parallel. Okay. So look at the club head. It hasn't hasn't gone inside. There's not a lot of rotation here, right? It's basically at this point still with the hands. All right. Now this is now in a real golf swing, you say, wait, that's really super steep or super, super vertical. In a real golf swing, you're going to get more momentum. But just to practice this takeaway, that a feeling of punching that up to the ceiling, right, is a great feeling. So notice his lead arm here. Now, if you really rotate your lead arm, okay, into the body, and that happens in the swing, but if we do it early, notice how the club head comes inside the hands, right, and the shaft is really shallow. So when you're doing this initial like down motion, don't rotate the lead arm early, right? It's really that simple, okay? So we've got a couple of swings that we're gonna look at with Nate. So Nate, let's go ahead and have you hit a few, and then we'll look at them in slow motion. We can just see how that takeaway sets you up for success.
So what I like to feel my takeaway in the pre-shot routine. You'll see most people kind of check in a spot as they go back. I'm very focused on posture for one, okay, allowing my weight to be positioned properly to support the turn. As I drive, keep my chest down, covering the ball, driving that left shoulder down. I'm just feeling like I am reaching down and up as I drive that shoulder down all the way to the top. And that, when I do it correctly, it'll just set you at the top in a one-piece takeaway feel.
Let's look at this swing from Nate in slow motion. So this red line here from basically the top of the head through the hips, that's the angle of your address, right? Your trunk angle, right?
Yep.
And I've drawn a line which is basically 90 degrees to that, okay? All right, so Nate, what does this feel like right there?
So right here, it feels like my arms have basically tried to, in a sense, stay at their address position and not rotate at all towards the back of your swing. You're just letting your lead shoulder drive down, keeping the triangle of your arms, and in a sense keeping the face of the club looking towards the ball where it was at address.
So a real key thing here is you look, we want to have that club head slightly inside the hands at this point, right?
Just outside.
Sorry, outside, towards the ball, thank you. Outside the hands, right?
Yep.
As we see that right there. Okay, now look at that lead shoulder. So his left shoulder, it's going down, and now look at the top. Lo and behold, those shoulders have turned basically square to the tilt, right? So this is the key feeling of why this shoulder not only feels like it's going down, but it does have to go down because we're rotating relative to this red line, your trunk line, right? So if we're going to rotate perpendicular to that lead shoulder is going to be going down. So we look at these hands, they're not flying up. Now the thumbs just kind of naturally move up as kind of a gradual. We have a thumbs down to thumbs up, but you're not lifting those arms really quick here.
No. The body, like the turn of the body, driving your chest down with that left shoulder driving down, that basically with momentum, ideally it's going to be placing the club with the right momentum up into the top.
All right, so now let's just look at this swing from both the face-on perspective as well as the down the line perspective here in a little slow motion, 1/8 speed. Are able to see just how fluid, when you get to that position, lead shoulder goes down, everything's just set up for a nice fluid shot. This is just the tiniest little draw, basically super square pass, super square face relative to the path, and that ball flight is just straight as a string.
I'm all right with that.
Anybody be all right with that shot? Great shot.
Thank you.
This takeaway isn't that hard, but sometimes you want some help, another set of eyes. We've got a fantastic online swing review program where you can send your swings into us. Nate gives you fantastic detailed feedback. Just click the link in the iCard above or in the description below, get a 14-day free trial.